Hello folks, welcome to the Edupedia world and I am Abhinay Gupta. Today we'll start a fresh topic, an important topic and a lengthy topic. That is the appointment and qualification of director. Director, my dear friends, is one of the most important topic in your entire corporate and allied law. The 3 chapters of director combined would weigh around 30 to 40 marks for your CA final examination. So whichever chapter you do, you don't do, or you pay less or more attention, whatever variances, whatever vibrations you want to add to the chapter, you may. But when it comes to director, I would insist and I would recommend that you go through this particular chapter in great detail and understand. So to cover up for 40 marks, you have 2 options. Either cover up the entire director or cover up 6 to 7 different chapters, right, in detail. So memorizing and understanding the 6 different chapters would be a little more difficult than understanding and memorizing the entire director, because over here you have one chapter, one topic that goes in flow and you will be able to connect, right? And this is one thing that you need to know as an auditor, as a chartered accountant. This is something which is very important for your knowledge. Without understanding the concept and the provisions of directors that are related to directors and the members, working after your qualification would be very difficult for you, right? For example, for an instance, if you don't know what is in operation and mismanagement, you may survive. If you don't know what is in winding up, you may survive, because these are occasional events, right? They don't occur in day-to-day life. If you don't understand winding up, then obviously whenever you're going for a job or whenever you're going to do something, winding up is rare, right? But directorship is a must whenever you're connected to any company. So it is recommended. Today is the first class. Pay great detail attention, right? And try to understand and grab the concept behind directors. It is a very interesting topic, right? And you can feel the essence, right? Because even you are going to be directors in future, most of you. So this is something that is of your use, your need, and to which you can connect, right? So understanding each technicalities, each terminologies and the provisions in detail would be of great help and would be of great interest for each one of you, right? So to start with, the first thing that we will understand when we talk about the chapter appointment and qualification of director is, why do we appoint the directors? Why do we judge their qualification, right? So the first thing is, we need to understand why we need a director, right? Why do we need the board? Why do we need the management? So first of all, and a very geeky answer to it, is that it is the requirement of the statute, right? So section 149 of Companies Act 2013 insists that you need a director in the company. The provisions of this section says that a director is a must to run a company, right? It talks about all the limits of the directors, their qualifications, disqualifications, conditions of being an independent director and stuff. So all such things are contained in section 149. So section 49 is when you talk about companies law, you have to abide by the provisions of the act, right? And section 149 is one such section that you need to abide by, and as per that section you need to have a director. That is one answer, right? The second thing is that the company is an artificial person, right? It has no hands, arms, nose, no, but nothing. We call it a person, but it is an artificial person, right? And it exists only in contemplation of law. It has no physical existence. You cannot call a company, the company won't give you a call. You cannot talk to a company, you cannot speak to a company, you cannot shake hands with a company, nothing. It is just a legal identity, nothing more than that. Then how will it function, right? It has the power to possess the property. It has the power to be sued and to sue somebody else. But how do it do that? If it is not able to write, how will it file the petitions? If it is not able to speak, how will it go ahead for its business transactions? So for that, they need the human agency, right? So the company depends on human agencies for its operations, and 2 basic human agencies are the members and the directors. So members are basically the owners, right? The shareholders, the financiers, right? Without them, the company cannot exist, because the company will have no resources. But will getting the resource and getting the finance arranged, help the company to run. Will that be enough to run a company? No. There are a hell lot of things that occur in day to day when a company operates. There has to be a strategy, there has to be a flow, there have to be policies, right? There takes place transactions, there takes place day to day events that where decision making is very important. So these things cannot be done with money and resources. For that, human intervention is very important. You have to have somebody appointed for day to day operation of the business. Those are the directors. Right? So directors are the managing body of the company. Directors and members are interconnected, right? As we talk about that the directors deal with the management of the company, they apply their skill, care and diligence to operate, to make the company run, right? To take the decisions, to get into transactions, to get through the legal obligations and everything. And they are accountable to the members, the real owners of the company, the promoters, the people who have given their finance, who have given their resources to the company to operate, right? And the members have the power to appoint and remove the directors, right? They can pass a resolution in a board, in the shareholders meeting, to appoint a new director. They may again pass a resolution to remove that particular director or any other director, right? But within the limits of the statute, obviously. And that is exactly how they ensure the separation of ownership from management. Right, so ownership vests with the members of the company and management responsibilities vests with the directors of the company. So now I hope you understand why does a company need the director, right? And why do it also needs the member? Because it is an artificial entity. It is an artificial person, right? And it needs human agencies to operate. And those are the members and the directors, right? And for operation purpose, specifically, it's the director. Now there are, normally when we talk about directors, we talk about the board of directors too, right? And then we are a little confused, where to use directors, where to use board of directors, what is the responsibility of director, what is the responsibility of the board. So let us get to that topic about who is a director and what is the board, right? So if we go by the definition, then clause 34 of section 2 deals with the director, right? They define director, which is that the director means a director appointed to the board of the company, right? So only when the director is appointed to the board of directors of the company, he will be considered to be a director of that company, right? Because you can be a director in layman's term by obtaining the director identification number, right? Go on to the MCA site, register and get that in. But to be a director of any particular company, you will have to get into the board of that particular company. So without board, there can be no director, and without director, there obviously can be no board. And if we focus on the definition of the board of directors, that is covered by clause 10 of section 2, which says that the board of directors means a body duly constituted to direct, control and supervise the affairs of the company, right? So if we talk about director, as per the act, the only meaning is that they should be a part of the board. And now the entire functions that we had seen, the work of the director is entrusted on the board actually. So the board is duly constituted to direct, control and supervise the affairs of the company. So the act nowhere says in its meaning and in its definition that the responsibility rests with the director. No, it rests with the board of directors, right? And board of director cannot exist without director. So to conclude, these two words are synonymous, right? So director or the board are one thing. When we talk about director, we know what is a director supposed to do, but as per the act, as per the meaning, that is given to the board of directors. Because obviously when 2 or 3 directors, they come together, they form a board, right? The minimum requirement, the maximum requirement, right? That will be dealt with section 149 and later in the chapter, right? We'll come to that point. Initially, we're trying to understand the terminology, director and the board, right? So these are interchangeably used words, right? And they are synonymous to each other. There is no such basic difference between the board and the director. So directors cumulative form a board, right? Yeah, but there is one thing to understand when we talk about directors, the difference between executive and the non-executive directors. So the directors are basically divided into 2 categories. One is the executive director and the other is the non-executive director, right? Other categories of independent director, professional director and stuff are different. but basically they are categorized into two subdivisions, which is the executive and the non-executive. So the executives are the inside directors and the non-executives are the outside directors. So if we look at the qualities and what makes a director an executive director, then we'll see that an executive director basically is the inside director, as we have discussed, right? They are involved in the policy formation of the company. They sit and decide the policy of the company. They are into the payroll of the company, right? They're involved with the management of the day-to-day affairs of the company. So as per their job, as per their duty, every morning they have to get up, they have to go to office, they have to sit, they have to work for the company and then come back home in the evening and take a salary at the month's end, which is a normal job scenario that we consider, right? So executive directors are appointed for job in the company, right? They are an integral part of the company. They have to work for that company day and night, right? So whatever they think for the company. They think for the benefit of the company, because their remuneration will depend upon the growth of the company. As much as the company grows, the director's remuneration would grow. But if the company is not functioning properly, again it is the responsibility of the director, and hence the director will not be able to take away much home, right? Because when where they're working, if that company is not producing something, if the company is not growing, how would they grow? So they are an integral part of the company, right? Their growth is directly proportional to the growth of the company. So when the company grows, the directors grow. When the company doesn't grow, the directors don't grow, right? And the example of these type of directors are the whole-time director and the managing director of the company, right? They are an integral part of the company, right? And now, so defining executive director was not a task. But now you need to understand who are non-executive directors. Simply, the directors who are not executive are non-executive is not the right attitude to look at the word, right? So yeah, we first know that the non-executive directors are basically the outside directors, right? And the example of non-executive director is the professional director and the nominee director or the nominee director. These directors are considered to be outside director because they are not employed as a job with the company and they are not an integral part of the company. They are hired for some specific purposes, right? So non-executive directors, if we try and understand, are linked to the company or are appointed by the company to solve a specific task. They are hired for some specific purposes. Either they have a wide knowledge on that specific subject, wide experience, they have connects. So that is why they are appointed. They are appointed to use that particular expertise of that director, right? Because they possess diverse experience and background, right? They have been working with all sorts of companies. They have been serving the other companies. They have been into the decision making. They sit for the board meetings, right? So they are independent directors and they are unbiased because their growth is not directly proportional to the growth of the company. Company may go anywhere. They will go separate because they are not connected. They are not linked to the company. So when they sit for the board meeting, their judgment will always be unbiased. Because the executive directors have to give a biased judgment, they will by instinct give a biased judgment because the growth of the company, the movement of the company will direct their own movement. But the non-executive directors are not affected by the same. So they will not be biased, right, when they talk about their company. They will say about what is right, what is wrong. They will not go by what is actually beneficial for the company or not. But what is to be done is to be done, right? And one more thing, that all non-executive directors would attend the board meeting, but is not intimately connected to the company, right? So this is, I think, a concept which is clear with you when we talk about executive and non-executive director. And now I guess it is easier for you to identify when we talk about a director whether or not is that person an executive or a non-executive director, right? So basically that is all that we'll be covering in the lecture today, right? We have understood the need for directors. We have seen the difference between actually the synonymous two terms, the director and the board of director, and understood the basic difference between a non-executive and an executive director, right? And cleared the concept so that you are able to identify them individually whenever you get a case, right? So with that, we'll end the class today. Stay tuned for the next lecture. This is Abhinay Gupta signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.